CNN had the breaking news banner headline up for hours on its morning news show. Biden to eviscerate Trump. Eviscerate Trump in Iowa speech today. Talk about loaded language.
I think he's the weakest mentally. And I like running against people that are weak mentally. I think Joe is the weakest up here.
I believe that the president is literally an existential threat to America.
Joining us now in New York, Kat Timpf, a National Review writer and Fox News contributor. And in Hartford, Charlie Gasparino, senior correspondent at Fox Business Network. Kat, why does the media get so revved up when Trump and Biden trade insults? And those were harsh insults, as if the other 22 Democratic candidates were just some kind of sideshow.
Right. I think that part of it does have to do with the polls and the fact that Biden is so much further ahead than the other candidates. But also I think a lot of it has to do with the reason why he's so far ahead in the polls, which is the name recognition. If someone sees a headline that says Trump and Biden are sort of exchanging jabs at each other, everybody knows who we're talking about there, and everybody knows about Biden. Some of these other Democratic candidates, I mean, if I didn't work in media, I wouldn't have even ever heard of them. Like, who's Andrew Yang?
You would pass them on the street and have no idea. Charlie, I think
anybody could walk by me on the street and say, "Hi, I'm Andrew Yang," and I would believe them.
Good point. Charlie, I think the press wants a two-person race because it's kind of expensive and unwieldy to cover 23 candidates, and there's only so much airtime and there's only so many column inches.
Yeah, but, I don't think the press is rooting for Biden over the other ones. I just think that, as Kat said, he's got massive name recognition. I will say one other thing about Biden. Biden's obviously an interesting guy. And if you covered Biden for years, I know Biden for, because he's got a lot of friends on Wall Street. This is one tough SOB. He will get under Donald Trump's skin. He already has. That makes this a story because already he's not won it, but he's already getting under Donald Trump's skin. You always know when the president you've got him by the you-know-whats. You always know it when he starts mentioning your name, and that's what he's doing here because Joe Biden is hitting a nerve.
Right. Well, I covered Biden's first presidential campaign, which, like the second, didn't turn out so well. Let me play for you something else that the president had to say about the former vice president this week.
He looks different than he used to. He acts different than he used to. He's even slower than he used to be.
So, Kat, that's obviously a shot at Biden's age. By the way, Biden's 76, Trump just turned 73. But the president's going to come out and suggest that Biden's too old for the job, that he's diminished mentally. Does the press have a responsibility to treat those claims skeptically?
I think so, because age is a number that matters, but a little bit, right? Someone being 76 or being 73, that means something different for every individual. I think that the problem with Biden is that he's given specific things for the media to seize on in this issue. Number one, the whole "where's Biden" thing. He hasn't been out there. I think this is part of the reason why the media is focused on his age, but not so much the age of Bernie Sanders, even though Bernie Sanders is even older, because Bernie Sanders is out there. He's speaking with energy. He's marching with McDonald's workers. Biden, for all we know, he could be taking a nap. We don't know what he's doing.
All right,
so I think that's part of it. And he also makes outdated cultural. I don't think he is either, but it allows Trump to make a comment like that, is my point.
Okay, and Charlie,
let
me just jump in. After the president's remarks, Politico ran a piece saying that some Democrats are talking about Biden's age and whether he's too old to be an effective candidate. So is that overplaying the issue, or is it just perfectly fair game when you're talking about septuagenarians?
I think it's fair game, but this opens up Donald Trump to a lot of issues. Listen, if you know Joe Biden, he's in great shape for 76, and clearly when you get older, you do get a little slower, so the media has to bring that up. But then they also have to bring up Donald Trump. I mean, Joe Biden works out every day. He's in great physical shape. Is Donald Trump in great physical shape? I mean, think about it. Think about how Biden is going to come back, and I think the media will then go into whether Donald Trump is in good enough physical shape to run for president again. Will he survive another 4 years? That's the problem with when you start bringing up age and health. The other side's going to come back, and the media will be forced to cover Donald Trump's health more than ever before.
Yeah, I do think it's. I do think the fact that Biden's keeping a light schedule does fuel some of this, but of course it's strategic at this point. Before we go, Biden, who the press, said was going to be a horrible candidate, kind of snapped back a little bit at some of the reporters with him on the trail. Let's take a look.
You all said I was going to fail from the beginning. You said it. Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You said Biden is going to start off and he's going to plummet.
Kat, that was Edward Isaac Dover of The Atlantic, but many journalists said this. So you think Biden was expressing a little bit of frustration there with the press?
I think he absolutely was, but I think he also, before he starts kind of bragging about how he has maintained his spot at the top, needs to realize that it's still very early, and we've seen certain candidates start to gain steam, particularly Elizabeth Warren. Right now, the media is mostly focusing on Warren, Sanders, and Biden, but it's still very early, and if the early polls in the Republican race in 2016 had been correct, we would have had candidate Jeb Bush, and we all know that
that's
did not
right.
even come close
I agree with
to
you.
happening.
I got to get a break here, but it's ridiculously early. We haven't even had the first debates.